Hello everyone, Paleo Nerd here, and this is What's in a Name, the series where we talk about scientific names and where they come from. Giant monsters like Godzilla, King Kong, and Gamera are commonly referred to as Kaiju, which derives from a Japanese word roughly translating to strange beast. Now, it's hardly shocking to hear that paleontologists can be huge nerds. Every now and then, some new dinosaur gets named after some aspect of popular culture, and it makes for an eye-catching news article. And with so many kaiju already being at least dinosaur adjacent like Godzilla and King Kong, it makes perfect sense that some dinosaurs and other extinct animals would end up getting named after them. But how many examples do you actually know? I'll be listing every fossil organism named after kaiju as of writing this, in order of when they were described from oldest to youngest, and providing some interesting trivia about each animal. I will not be including any modern organisms in this video, so Godzilliads and that worm named after King Ghidorah won't be listed here. I originally wanted to finish this by November 3rd for Godzilla's birthday, but that obviously didn't work out. However, not only is today Thanksgiving, it's also Gamera Day in Japan, and as you'll see, that's surprisingly a bit more relevant to this video. King Kong, we all know him, the eighth wonder of the world, the king of the apes. He debuted over 2 decades before Godzilla and was incredibly influential in both monster movies and pop culture in general. So what animal was given the honor of being named after such an icon? Some kind of ape, perhaps? Maybe one of great size? Nope, we got a bird. Chlorodops regius kongi, the King Kong grosbeak, is a prehistoric species of finch found in the Hawaiian island of Oahu and was described in 1991 by Helen James and Storrs Olson, alongside 31 additional bird species from the Hawaiian Islands. Its fossils date back to the early Holocene, presumably around 11 to 10,000 years ago. There are 2 other species in the genus Chlorodops, the Wahi grosbeak and the Kona grosbeak, which are also extinct, although the Kona grosbeak managed to last until 1894, while the other 2 went extinct sometime before Europeans first arrived in the Hawaiian Islands in 1778. Chlorodops is one of many finches classified as Hawaiian honey creepers, all of which are native to the Hawaiian Islands and exhibit a wide variety of beak morphologies. The King Kong grosbeak does at least somewhat justify its name, as at 11 inches or 28 centimeters long, it's among the largest of the Hawaiian honey creepers, although the specific reference to King Kong seems to be the result of a reporter misquoting Olson's statement regarding the bird's size prior to its description. Pretty much the only big thing the bird shares with the real King Kong is that they both lived on islands, and Hawaii is a far cry from Skull Island. The fact that it's so uncharismatic compared to other prehistoric life, and that they Latinized the king part of King Kong in the name, is probably at least part of the reason this bird remains so obscure. But since it was described from fossil remains and no confirmed sightings of a living specimen exist to my knowledge, it just barely qualifies as prehistoric and thus warrants a spot on this list. Though perhaps not as well known to the general public as Godzilla and King Kong, most kaiju fans likely know of Gamera. Created by the Japanese studio Daiei, now Katakawa Daiei, as a competitor for Toho's Godzilla, Gamera was a giant turtle monster that could fly, breathe fire, and had a fondness for children, often going out of his way to save them from danger in the form of other giant monsters. While the Showa-era Gamera films were fairly cheesy and increasingly geared themselves towards kids as it went on, the franchise was given new life with the Heisei trilogy, starting with 1995's Gamera Guardian of the Universe. 2 years prior, in 1993, Donald Brinkman and Zhang Huapeng renamed Siamese Gamera based on a partial shell from the Luohandong Formation in the Inner Mongolia region of China. This formation is currently dated from the Aptian to the Albian of the early Cretaceous, about 120 to 110 million years ago. The genus Siamese has at least 3 other species found in other regions of China, and it is the namesake of the family Siamedidae, an extinct clade of turtles of uncertain phylogenetic placement, potentially being stem cryptodires or outside crown group turtles entirely. What sets this species apart from others in the genus Cynemes, and the reason for its name, are two spines projecting from the sides of its shell, which the authors describe as wing-like, and may have reminded them of the jets that Gamera uses to fly. You can especially see the resemblance in scenes where Gamera only flies with the jets in the rear. The spines may have even been wing-like with regards to their function, as Brinkman and Peng suggest that they may have served some kind of hydrodynamic function. Cynemes gamera may be small, but its unique morphology both suits the name it was given and helps set it apart from other turtles both in and outside its genus. Godzilla is another monster that likely needs no introduction. Toho's golden child, the king of the monsters. He's been a villain, a hero, and everywhere in between throughout the 30-plus films he's appeared in. And given he's usually depicted as a dinosaur or some other prehistoric reptile, it's no surprise that one would be named after him. Gojirasaurus quayi is probably one of the few creatures in this video that I would be fairly confident most viewers already knew about to some extent. For those who don't know, Gojirasaurus is an early theropod dinosaur known from the late Triassic of North America. Its genus name uses the original Japanese name for Godzilla, Gojira, while the specific name references Quay County, New Mexico, where it was found. While the type specimen was known about since the 80s, it wouldn't be properly named until Dr. Kenneth Carpenter's description was published on August 13, 1997, less than 2 years since Godzilla's last film at the time, and only about 10 months before the '98 film's theatrical release. Kenneth Carpenter is a longtime fan of the Big G and justified the name by the large size of the specimen, estimated to be up to 6 meters long and weighing at least 150 kilos or 330 pounds. While not giant compared to the likes of T-Rex and Spinosaurus, Gojirasaurus was much bigger than most other theropods known from the Triassic, and since the type specimen seems to be an immature individual, it's possible that one skeletally mature was at least slightly bigger. It was specifically found in the Bull Canyon Formation in New Mexico, which dates to the Norian of the late Triassic, about 215 to 207 million years ago. Other animals found there include croc relatives like Shuvosaurus, Postosuchus, and Typothorax, semi-aquatic archosauriforms like Vanclivia and Machairoprosopus, as well as fish, cynodonts, and temnospondyls. The validity of Gojirasaurus has been questioned since its description, as some of the material has been suggested to actually belong to Shuvosaurus, while other bones look nearly identical to those of Coelophysis except for their size. In spite of this, Gojirasaurus has been treated as valid in many recent papers, and phylogenetically it tends to be placed either in Coelophysoidea or in a clade leading to Aphaurosuchus composed of similarly sized theropods from the late Triassic and early Jurassic like Liliensternus, Dilophosaurus, and Cryolophosaurus. Believe it or not, there's currently 2 extinct turtles named after Gamera. I already talked about Cynemes gamera, so here's Gamerabena sonsala, described by Tyler Lyson and Walter Joyce in 2010. At this point in time, the Gamera franchise was pretty much dormant. The Heisei trilogy ended in '99, there was another movie in 2006, and the only Gamera media since has been a short film in 2015 and a Netflix series in 2023. Gamerabena was found in the Hell Creek Formation, meaning it coexisted with some of the last non-avian dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus and Triceratops at the end of the Cretaceous period. It's currently known only from a single skull, although it's been suggested that Bena hei may represent the shell of the species. Gamerabena was given its name not out of any physical resemblance to Gamera, but as a reference to the Hell Creek Formation in which it was found and the monster's fire-breathing abilities, since Hell is typically associated with fire. The suffix Bena refers to its classification in the family Banidae within the extinct clade Paracryptodira, which is generally thought to be the sister clade to crowned turtles. The species name honors Donald and Margaret Sonsala, who owned the land where the holotype was found and who donated the fossil to the North Dakota Heritage Center. Gamera baena is currently believed to be closely related to other baenids from Hell Creek like Cedrobaena, Plasiobaena, Peckamies, and Palatabaena. Surprisingly, Godzilla is not the only Toho monster to have an extinct animal named after him. Diplodocus gigan is a species of Brontothere described by Matthew Milbacher in 2011. It's known from a single partial skull found in northwestern Wyoming and is believed to have lived during the Middle Eocene, about 46 to 42 million years ago. This species is around 20% larger than the type species of Diplodocus, D. elatus, so the species name references both its large size and the monster Gigan, one of Godzilla's many on-screen foes who first appeared in the 1972 film Godzilla vs. Gigan. The only real similarity between the Brontothere and Gigan is that both have horns, which is pretty underwhelming. After all, having a horn on its head is not what I consider Gigan's most distinguishable trait. Gigan's beak-like jaws could bring to mind any kind of beaked animal. His wings could be compared to the sail of a Sphenacodon, Spinosaur, or Iguanodon. Heck, his giant hook hands definitely remind me of the enlarged hand claws of the Aphaurosuchus, a group of theropod dinosaurs believed to have specialized in eating small insects like ants and termites. So if anyone watching this happens to be working on any new Alvarezsaur species or knows someone who is, I'll let you take the name Giganonyx for free. Now, you might argue that this is kinda cheating since it's not really named after a specific kaiju, but I likely won't be able to talk about this in the next entry otherwise, so I'm including them anyway. Kaijutitan Maui is a species of titanosaur described in 2019 from a partial skeleton found in the Sierra Barossa Formation in the Neuquén province of Argentina, which dates to the Coniacian of the late Cretaceous, about 89 to 86 million years ago. Its genus name combines kaiju, a word commonly associated with giant monsters like Godzilla, with Titan, the race of immortals that precede the Olympians in Greek mythology, which are the namesake of the titanosaurs, and is commonly used as a suffix in titanosaur names. The specific name is actually an acronym honoring the Museo Municipal Argentino Urquiza, or MAU. The other animals from the same formation include another titanosaur, Mendozasaurus, the ornithopod Macrogryphosaurus, and the megaropterid Murasraptor. There's not really much else to say about it. It doesn't even seem to be that big by titanosaur standards, although I couldn't find specific estimates, so the name is a bit disappointing in that regard, but it still fits in the sense that titanosaurs are the closest nature seems to have gotten to real-life kaiju, at least on land. While the Mesozoic is widely thought of as the age of dinosaurs, it was also rife with a diverse array of croc relatives that filled a variety of body types and niches beyond those present in modern crocodilians. One group of these croc relatives were the Borusuchids, a group of terrestrial hypercarnivorous crocodilomorphs known primarily from the late Cretaceous of Argentina and Brazil. Among these is Aphaurosuchus, a genus known from the Adamantina Formation in Brazil that was described in 2021 based on a nearly complete skeleton. But that's the type species, Aphaurosuchus ascarifacies. There's another species known from less complete remains that was described in 2023 from the same formation. Aphaurosuchus kaiju is known from partial skull remains and teeth, but it still preserves enough diagnostic features for the authors to consider it a distinct species. The Adamantina Formation preserves a wide variety of animals, the star attractions being dinosaurs like Gondwanatitan and Navarornis, as well as a bunch of Notosuchians, including at least 7 distinct species of Borusuchid, showing that this was a rich ecosystem that could support multiple species of similarly sized predators. The 2014 legendary Godzilla film introduced 2 new foes for Godzilla to fight called MUTOs, massive unidentified terrestrial organisms. Around 9 years later, in October of 2023, René Frey, Edouard Michko, Leonid Barsukov, and Jean-Jacques described Mutotylaspis tripodium, an extinct genus and species of hermit crab from Albian-aged rocks in central Russia, dating to around 110 million years ago. It belongs to the family Proboscideae, of which it is the only extinct member currently known. The authors explain their choice for the name with their description of the MUTOs as, quote, giant parasitic monsters that walk on 4 legs, which is technically only true of the male MUTO, as the female walks on 6 legs, as does the MUTO that briefly appears in King of the Monsters, but I digress. The rest of the genus name is a reference to the extant proboscidean genus Tylaspis, which the authors consider to be the closest living relative of MUTO Tylaspis, while the species name is derived from the Latin word for dancing in reference to the pose the type specimen was found in. The paper even includes beautiful artwork by Sergei Krasovsky depicting MUTO Tylaspis as it likely would have looked in life, patrolling the seafloor and even having an anemone attached to its abdomen for either defense or camouflage. It might not be as charismatic as the dinosaurs and marine reptiles it lived alongside, but MUTO Tylaspis still helps paint a bigger picture of what was around in what is now Russia over 100 million years ago. Perhaps one of the most iconic and memorable Toho monsters aside from Godzilla, Mothra first debuted in her own solo film in 1961 and has since appeared several times in the Godzilla series, sometimes as a foe of Godzilla and sometimes as an ally. She even had a film trilogy of her own in the late 90s. May 14th of 2025 saw the description of Mothra fentani, a new genus and species of radiodont named by Joseph Moisiuk and Jean-Bernard Caron. Radiodonts are an extinct order of arthropods, the most well known of which is likely Anomalocaris. However, Mothra is considered to be part of the family Herdiidae, and thus more closely related to radiodonts like Stanleycaris, Petoia, and Aegirocasis. The genus name uses the romanized version of the original Japanese name for Mothra in reference to its moth-like appearance, while the species name honors John Fenton, quote, for his 40 years of service as a technician in the invertebrate paleontology section at the Royal Ontario Museum, and for his unwavering friendship to both authors. Mothra was described based on 60 specimens, all found in the Burgess Shale in the Canadian province of British Columbia, which dates to the Cambrian period around 508 million years ago. Despite sharing its name with a moth big enough to fight Godzilla, Mothra fentani is one of the smallest radiodonts currently known, with the largest specimens only being around 6 centimeters or 2.4 inches in length. Nevertheless, it has a plethora of interesting features, like 3 eyes, having the highest number of body segments of any radiodont, and a pair of short front appendages that it would have used to capture and bring prey to its mouth. Overall, it's a welcome addition. My only real gripe is that I wish they would have added a suffix to the genus name, like Mothracaris or something, so that it's a little easier to avoid confusion with its namesake. That does it for all the fossil animals named after kaiju, at least for now. I'm sure there will be more as more new species are discovered, and I'll likely make a follow-up to this video once there's a decent amount of them. At least one interesting takeaway I can think of is that Gamera currently holds the record for the kaiju with the most extinct animals named after it with 2, while all the others listed here only have 1, unless you count Kaijutitan and Aphaurosuchus kaiju, both having kaiju in their name. I guess you could pretend they're both named after the kaiju from the new Superman movie, even though that came out after both of them were already described. How many of the species in this video did you already know about before watching? There were definitely at least 3 I had never heard of prior to writing the script for this video. Are there any kaiju that you would like a dinosaur or other extinct animal to be named after? Any specific types of animals you have in mind? Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below, like, subscribe, all that jazz, and this is Paleo Nerd signing out.